So we've been talking to our customers over the last few months about tasks and having a tasking system within InLoco Parentis. And we finally created one. We now have two new pages, tasks and my tasks. And to create a task, if I go to the tasks page and I have permission to create tasks, more about that in a minute, I can click on the plus at the top and select create new task. So a task has a title, which is visible to all users, a description. It has one or more assignees. I can assign myself to the task, or I can assign a colleague or more than one colleague. It has a due date, and it has a priority, which can be low, medium, or high. And it starts off with a status of pending. And when a task is first created, it's pending, but then when the task is proceeding, it goes to being in progress. And then either it stalls for some reason, it gets completed, or it gets cancelled. Now, every task can also have an optional checklist. For example, let's create a task for some households, and we will confirm the rates with the household, discuss their obligations, and set up a follow-up meeting in a couple of weeks. And tasks can also have related entries. For example, if it was linked to a household, that household can be linked to the task. And I can also associate students with the task, or community members, or schools, and so on. And when the task is saved, it appears in the task list. And I'm going to work on the task. If I go to my tasks are the tasks that have been assigned to me, so where I'm one of the assignees. All tasks, which is the tasks menu, is all the tasks for the company. And I can take the task that I created and start it. And so using the hamburger menu, I can click start working on this task, and it changes to in progress. And every change I make to the task, so that's when I change its status or its priority or change the people associated with it, every change is automatically logged. And it says what was done and who did it and when. So now we have task templates. If I have permission, I can go to the preferences menu and I can go to task templates. And some tasks are simply better set up as templates if they're very repetitive. So on the preferences screen, I can create a new task template. I'm going to create a task template for student onboarding. And the target of that task is going to be students. And I'm going to add some checklist items. The first thing is to collect the student's personal details, name, date of birth, nationality. The second task is going to be to create their contact information. So I've got their telephone number, their email, their WhatsApp contact information. And the third checklist item is to collect their identification documents. So once I've now created this task template, I can create tasks from that template by going to the students page, and I can select several students using the standard checklist function for tagging several students. And now there's a new option called create tasks for selected students. So if I click on that, I can select the template I want, and I can even add extra items in here. So for example, if I particularly know on this particular setting that I want to document emergency contacts, I can add that to the checklist. And then I'm going to assign that task to a couple of colleagues, set the priority, and I'm going to create one task per student. So I may have selected many students, but actually, instead of making one task, I'm going to actually set this up as several tasks. There are three new permissions associated with the task system. On the My Tasks page, I can set who can view, create, edit, and so on, the usual administrative options. On the tasks page, which is basically all company tasks, I can select whether to view, create, edit, and so on. And finally, if I have access to preferences, then I can set up whether they can actually create or view task templates. When I'm looking at tasks, there are options regarding filtering. The tasks can be filtered by assignee, via priority, or filtered by status. And I can also sort them by created date, due date, priority, status, and title. Completed or cancelled tasks are hidden by default, but those can be brought back by checking this checkbox. And tasks can also be archived in the usual manner. If a task has a checklist, then on the task page, you can see how far you are through the completion of that task. And you can also create manual log entries. So for example, if a task is stalled, you might want to say why it's stalled. And so you might be waiting for parents to get back to me. And then important log entries, such as that particular entry I've just added manually, can be pinned so that they appear at the bottom of the General tab. We've also extended the alerts system to integrate with the new tasking system. So for most alerts, you can also set a task to be created. So for example, if I set an alert on the student balance notification, that will, as standard, send alerts, which are basically messages. But now I can create a task and I can link that task with a template, and that task will be created and shared between all the participants who would have got the original alert. And for those with access to all company tasks, the task page includes a small dashboard, and the dashboard shows the number of outstanding tasks of each type and the status, and also the number of tasks that are currently assigned to each user. So you can see whether people are loaded before assigning them new tasks.